Hello, good afternoon, good day, good morning, maybe even. My name is Henry Keane, and my dear colleagues Halyna and Paul Stillman are with me right tonight. So we are happy to have you. I hope you will be happy to have us tonight. We're discussing France. So the question is, Halyna just asked me why Macron would ever do that. I don't know.
Yeah, you say I hope you're happy to have us, and I don't know if Macron is that happy to have that victory of Le Pen's party in France.
Well, let's first discuss what really happened in France. We had results to the European Parliament elections where Le Pen's party took advantage, and then Macron goes, oh, I'm disseminating this parliament and we're holding new elections now. And we have a surge of the voters in the first tour for Le Pen.
Right.
Yeah, so my question is what was the logic? What did he expect from that? Did he really think that we would see a major change, not the same result? Because it's basically, nothing changed even a bit.
Well, if I may, yesterday I've interviewed Nicolas Tenzer. He's a politologist from France, and I asked him why Emmanuel Macron would do something that can actually undermine his own career, his own party, and his own country. And the answer was, I have no idea. And then I asked another question. Well, maybe someone who knows, and he said, no one knows. So let's answer another question, at least try to answer this question. What is going to happen now?
Henry, have you seen French cars?
Yeah.
Yeah, and...
I wanted to say that first, but you did it. You did it. I've seen French cars, yeah.
Yeah, they're quite odd, to say the least, and so we can say about their political system too, where it is a presidential republic, and the president has most of the power in the country right now, and elections to the parliament can be like regulatory ones, and they will not influence inner politics and foreign politics by much until the presidential election.
So are you saying that Macron actually has a plan? We just don't know it.
It is a French plan.
Right. Okay, so...
And if he's confident about it, at least he pretends to. Well,
we should be confident in him too.
Yeah, that's the main part. But actually, I read that even if Le Pen has such a successful victory, I still saw that the party has to gain a majority of the seats in the parliament, 289, and they actually promised that if they don't hit that target, they would actually just refuse to try and gain power.
They will not have an opportunity to be the governing force because, the second in the race is the leftist party. Le Pen's party is the rightist. And do you see any coalition possibility between the left and the right? And we have the number 3 right now, Macron's party, which is centrist, which is the calmest of the parties. They are arbitrary between the left and the right, and we often see in France some riots, worker riots and unrest, civilian unrest. It's a country where you had the revolution,
So we have something in common in this.
Yes,
and the revolution was born in France.
They like to decide what to do on the streets with the protesters and the police. And Macron is an overseer, he is balancing those forces.
Yeah, still, some protests took place against Le Pen, if I'm not mistaken, on the streets of France already. So some of the people don't actually like that kind of the results that we saw yesterday. So even against her, though these are not the, rightist or probably leftist. And Macron, actually his stance was I remember before the election, he was do not support the rightist and leftist,
support
radical,
party,
both of them. So and obviously we know why.
Actually, what I'm worried about, just recently Macron announced Mirage 2000 transfer combat planes to Ukraine. If a president from Le Pen's party would took over France, we will never have those planes.
Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
Like she said.
They said, yeah, they
That
are.
they support Ukraine now. She like made a statement. I remember it baffled everyone because
Exactly.
that
Well,
was,
that's
you
what
know,
Yeah.
very different from their usual stance on the
Because
issue.
this is what populists usually do.
Wait,
They-
wait, wait.
Yeah.
We
they
had the
change
first.
the shoes like
Yeah.
like that.
We had the first episode of Red Lines about escalation, and the rightist party said we are against escalation. Escalation is sending troops to Ukraine, sending instructors to Ukraine, sending weapons even to Ukraine. We, for peace, we will not escalate with Russia.
So when Russian tanks are actually going to invade France, this will be an escalation or not enough?
I'm just saying that I'm really worried about French
a
foreign
that's
politics.
a peace plan, Henrik. Like,
All right,
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm really
Sorry for
worried
that.
about
Surely
foreign
it was a peace
politics,
plan.
foreign policy of France. If
Right.
a president of that party takes part, we remember it's a presidential republic.
All right, let's go to the other side. What does it mean for Ukraine? Let's speculate on that. If Marine Le Pen gets what she wants, and if Macron has a plan, a very wise chess play is going on here, but what does it mean for Ukraine?
I mean, we don't know.
yeah, that's like the two biggest conundrums. What it means when Trump, you know, becomes a president, and
If
if
he
Le
becomes
Pen
president,
takes
yeah.
over France.
What we have here, in my opinion, is that by letting those parties be elected right now in the parliament, they can demonstrate the initiatives, and I mean the lack of initiatives, both from left and right parties in France, for some social stability and social development of France, except for populist like claims. And you know, populism works before elections and not after elections. So they can promise a lot and then do the different.
And protests
Exactly, that's what I
always work.
Protests
before,
always work in
after,
France too,
yeah. Yeah, and also like they have like the rightists, they have a very specific policy on migrants and stuff. So do you think that can actually influence Ukrainian refugees in Europe in any
I believe
kind?
not Ukrainian ones, because all this European conservatism is directed against migrants from the Middle East, in the first place from Syria.
Why? That?
That is a long story from 2014,
Right, okay.
since the first migrant crisis. And what we have here, Europeans really like Ukrainian refugees in the sense that those people are Europeans too. They are most often educated. They like to work. They integrate into their societies really good.
Yeah, I want to emphasize it's not just because they are white, please. Yeah, because the amount of speculations I saw, like, oh yes, Ukrainians are white, and like, however, we also have not only white people in Ukraine, just so you know, because sometimes people are not sure we have electricity in Ukraine, and I'm not talking about power outages. Yes, I mean it in the other sense. So yeah, and yeah,
What I meant is the cultural sense.
Yeah.
Because we are from the one European culture. We can integrate.
Yes, and statistics like shows that actually most Ukrainian refugees, they work. So like officially they are trying to become a part of a society, and they just try to leave and not just,
to pay taxes and by
Yeah.
the law. Yeah, that's the two main things. But what if Macron would continue again to speculating, only speculating now? No one knows. So in this position, when no one knows, we just only left to speculate. What and if? Because I was talking to Nicholas Tenza. He was frightened. He was really frightened. He is a very experienced politician, and he started the conversation, the interview with me, by saying that I am in Paris these terrible days. That's what he said. So he is absolutely convinced that nothing good comes of Macron's plan, if there is a plan.
He didn't mince his words. Yeah, he was like very
He was,
straightforward.
I'm telling you, very straightforward in that. He said, very terrible days to be here in France because everything will go wrong. Not just can. He's absolutely sure that it will. I'm not that sure, but still.
Wow. All jokes aside.
I can understand him because, Le Pen has been trying to make the party more civilized, less aggressive, just so like more populism, to attract more people. But still, when it all goes away because they win, maybe, in some sense, she won't have to pretend that much. But maybe he has some point that it's going to be more aggressive than we expect.
We actually see that right parties, rightists win all over Europe.
Yeah, but still,
so that's
not
the
like,
trend.
Yeah,
that's a trend.
The trend, but
that's a normal reaction for people who feel global unrest, like this threat from Russia. Oh, let's elect pro-Russian parties if there's a threat from Russia. Maybe they won't attack us.
That's wise.
Maybe, and we see Hungary, Czech Republic, and Austria forming the conservative bloc in the European Parliament. We see Marine Le Pen's victory in the first tour of the elections. We will have the second one,
exactly.
the majority.
That's like offending the word conservative, but okay.
Oh, they,
I get it. I get it.
Yeah, it's what's declared conservative.
See, but you guys seem to be very comfortable with what's going on, right? You like, it could be good, it could be bad, but you don't see any big problem for Ukraine coming
What
out
I
of it?
see, Henry, what I see is that people pursue their own interests. And for both right and left and center parties in Europe, Europe's safety is top one priority.
Okay.
And Ukraine helps with that. Let's be honest.
That's like too much of a, too less of a word, like too little of a word. That's not enough, because that's basically what influences their security and safety.
What prevented Russian
most.
Expansion, not even military, but expansion of influence since 2022, because they wanted to take over Ukraine in a couple of weeks or months, and then spread their influence all over Europe, create the Great Divide.
Spread, continue spreading, because the amount of the pro-Russian media, not pro-Russian, Russian media in Europe that were recently close, and Henry is laughing because he saw what it was, in his country, that just these Russian agents, they were so comfortable all the time in 2021, even in 2022.
2014.
Yeah, these guys, I mean, I can tell you what they do. They do look like that. They say that democracy is bad, Europe is bad and weak, and everything is bad. We are strong, but the moment they feel sort of the oppression or the power or any force applied onto them, they immediately look for democracy. They immediately start to speak about human values and human rights. And these people like Le Pen are absolutely the same. They're using and abusing all of us, and we will be able to see that very, very soon, I believe so.
Yeah, and once again, I see this parallel, I have to mention it. I just see this parallel to Trump, because that's the person who did the same thing on January 6th, when he basically conducted and arranged a rebellion, some kind of a coup. And
well, you're talking about the capital.
Yes, and then he was like, yeah, that's democracy. We have the right to do that. We have the right to go and actually,
and now
make
he's
this
a
chaos.
convicted felon,
Yes, and he's actually a convicted felon. And even during the debate, he basically...
that's how democracy works. He's a convicted. He's a convicted of felony.
But he has rights.
Yes, absolutely.
As a convicted felon, but
we
still.
can see a tendency where Russian influence was strong in Europe, Eastern Europe, like the Eastern Bloc. People are more used to paternalism. What is paternalism? We are looking for a strong hand to rule all of us, and democracy, is bad because...
It's nice to not think that I have to do something in my country as well.
Yes, someone will decide for
and
me.
Stuff,
not only vote, but actually when people are taught they must, not only they can, they must solve their problems themselves.
They must form a community.
They must form a community and solve their problems, not just whine about bad government and a weak policy in our region, but actually do something. As soon as you tell them, oh, we like democracy. And when there's complete freedom of doing, you say, we lack a strong hand. And
sure, because that's the shift of responsibility. I don't have to do anything. This strong hand will do everything for me.
It's a shift in the head.
Yeah,
so you have to shift from paternalism to democracy, active democracy, when in active democracy,
But
in
it
my
doesn't
opinion,
come, that shift doesn't come without responsibility. You have
without
to-
responsibility, it doesn't.
So, is France a socially responsible country? You
I
think?
don't know.
Exactly. Well, yeah, because a presidential republic, so the president, obviously, Macron should have a plan. Let's say he has a plan. And this is the plan that is going to down Le Pen's party. Probably.
Probably. Because when populists enter parliament, people start demanding, do something. And if they cannot provide for their promises, people won't vote for their candidate.
Okay, so are you saying that we're just right now like testing the whole system of the whole political system of France? If does it really that work?
I believe that's how the whole political system in France works. I'm not French, I'm not an expert, but I know a little
But
history.
you've seen some French cars, right?
Yeah, I've seen some French cars in one TV show with three old British guys. You know that.
I know. Three
yeah.
old British guys. This is how you call them.
Old.
I
not
know.
young.
You
old-
have to watch
old
this
school.
podcast when it's, issued just to see my face when you're talking.
Yeah.
When you mention cars, I'm like,
Just look at
Out of.
look at
Have some sleep.
the car the country produces, and you can tell about this country a whole lot.
No,
Yeah.
maybe, but all right. So let's get back to our muttons. So we don't know much, but we assume that Macron has a plan.
I believe so.
Yeah, I know. Me too. I hope so. So, when you were saying that people have to do something, but let's imagine that we are Ukrainian diplomats, and that our talking here really matters for Ukraine. What would you do in this situation if you will be one of the diplomats that make a decision? Shall we contact France? Who should we contact? Or we just sit and wait and react afterwards? Because we are good at reacting afterwards, but maybe we have to
First of all-
create something, an event, I don't know.
before Pasha answers, and then probably I do the same thing, I suggest that our viewers also, like you heard the question, before we answer, you also can form your own, thoughts about this and write a comment, because it's going to be really interesting to, read what you think. Because I think, not only we are very smart, but our viewers as well. So yeah, looking forward
Yeah.
to that.
If I were a Ukrainian diplomat, I would subscribe to this channel, like and
Yeah.
share the video, and hit the notification button twice. Okay.
That's diplomacy by Paul Stelmach.
Yeah. I'm not a diplomat at all, probably, by my education, but what I'm seeing and what I know about diplomatic work is that you have to make friends. It's always, you have to make alliances and friends rather
really.
than foes.
It's not really about. It's not about friendship.
it's
I
not
think
about
this
friendship.
is this is absolute mistake of any diplomat looking for friends. Friends are forever, and nothing is forever. I mean, ideally, we're looking for alliances. Partners,
Alliances
that's
and
right. We
partners,
have interests in common, and we are following that interest. The moment our interests are not in common anymore, we're not following we go our own ways.
Serbia is a great example in its relations with Russia.
True.
Yeah. Serbia is so a beacon of Russian support in the Balkans. At the same time, Serbia is selling hundreds of thousands of ammunition
But not
to Ukraine.
directly, so it does not count.
Yeah, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
We are all Slavic brothers, as
Yes,
they
yes.
say.
And yeah, so I just wanted
But
to
we're
add that.
not stupid,
Yeah.
That's what he did.
And when you say France, the worst could be only like the word brothers that Russia like to
Oh,
use. That's
I
like,
yeah.
Abuse.
yeah.
Again, that's part of that paternalist scheme, which they try to put in the hearts and minds of people, rather than taking responsibility. So the model which Russia is built on is refusing responsibility for the strong hand. And what is Europe, in my opinion, built on is taking that responsibility in your life, in your community, and then in your country.
This is why Europe, in the world wars, all of them, in the first and the second one, was actually trying to negotiate with a dictator,
And it failed.
and it failed.
Well,
but
the first-
at what cost?
Yeah, the first World
Maybe
War is
now
a
we
different
should,
story,
yeah, okay, this is
but the
every-
second one is very similar.
Very similar. It's a different story. Well, the story is always different. But maybe what I'm asking is the people of France the France equals freedom, at least in my mind. It's very, very
Yeah.
freedom-loving.
It's like a brand almost.
It is a brand and a trend. And now what Emmanuel Macron does is really actually testing the whole idea about it, the whole freedom,
It will
the
work?
choice. I hope so.
Wait, is it? We had several revolutions in France.
Exactly.
And we had monarchy restoration. We had two French empires,
Two
but it always returns to the republic. It always does, in one way or another.
Presidential one.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Presidential, yeah, strong republic, but a republic.
I mean, I agree. I only just again speculating on the hardship that Ukraine would have to go through if Macron's plan failed. Or just that.
Well, just to put another sentence in here or a couple, I believe we will not have problems with right-wing parties taking over in Europe because we have interests in common. And I believe that European integration is possible with right-wing powers, even with Viktor Orban as head of the European Council
That
right now.
sounds very diplomatic.
Not the European Council. What is that? The Council of Europe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Hungary is the leader of that because we have interests, and when interests come
Good.
to the force, all the populism goes another side.
Still, like they
I'd love
are
to hear it.
basically Eurosceptic mostly.
You are. Are
I?
you?
Am I?
Yeah.
Am I? No.
Is
No,
she?
I'm just asking.
No.
Okay.
I mean like Orban, I mean Le Pen. So they are Eurosceptic. I am a
All right.
fan of the theory that they just like try to make it, you know, less of less of an appearance that they are Eurosceptic, because they cannot be so straightforward about that. You know, Eurosceptic forces are coming our way.
What I like about Euroscepticism is you have to give the facts. So
Yeah.
they say we don't want to, we don't need that, we need this, we don't that. Give us the facts. Why you should? The whole idea about freedom. When United Kingdom wanted to walk
To
out
leave
of
the European
it
Union?
just left. It was a problematic decision. It was full of hardships and everything, and it was sometimes even funny, but they did.
Well, I believe a person in Eastern Europe can be a Eurosceptic for as long as it doesn't concern the European budget. So,
Yeah, actually, that's what usually really influences Eurosceptics.
Yeah.
As soon as the money comes in force and Hungary needs money for their like reforms and stuff, they're like, oh yeah, actually, we're actually, you know,
we've changed our
yeah,
decision.
we're ready to give up some of our, you know, like demands and stuff, and yeah,
So everything is for sale. Is that what you're saying?
usually yes.
Okay, I
I
agree
am
with
not
that.
happy
That's
about
fair.
that fact, but
Fair
that's
enough.
fair.
I'd say that
unfortunately.
interest values most, and views value second or third, or any other place.
It's just like, you know, just for me, it's like it's difficult for me to talk about France and Hungary in the same way about interests and stuff, that it's very important and they come first, because I do believe that Hungary it has very specific interests about Ukrainian territory.
yeah.
So that makes a big difference between Euroscepticism of Orban and Le Pen for me.
Like Hungary and most of the countries of Eastern Europe, they are more mono-ethnic.
Yeah,
And
they don't
France-
have like, yeah.
Yeah, and France was a colonial empire. We have a whole lot of bunch of ethnicities and peoples living in France. Just like in Ukraine, we have 128, if I'm not mistaken, different nationalities and ethnicities living in Ukraine. Most of them being Ukrainians, of course, and then some national minorities,
citizens.
including Hungarians of Transcarpathia.
Yeah.
So, to trying to resume, to make some sort of the whole idea behind it, we are witnessing the test of the Macron's plan and actually the idea of unity of Europe. This is what I think. This is what I feel. And some politicians and some professionals in politics are afraid, but we're not, because, as Paul, you said, we need and we have a basis, a background, and the basis of building the bridges with far right.
Of course, And the whole purpose of diplomacy is building bridges. And we had a couple of missiles landing, missile debris in Kyiv just yesterday. And should we be afraid of Russian missiles or elections in France?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I know it's just two different ways to die.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
I mean, yes, we are. We
One
have to
is
be
like
afraid of both things.
very close, and the other is is in the long run, the.
Well, there will be more, what I mean that there will be definitely more Russian missiles as long as Le Pen wins. So,
She's been funded with Russian money for record time. She's done it. She's been there. Yeah, so that's like a well-known fact. Also, I'm so sorry. It's just once again, I'm so concerned over Trump. Then once again, that's what they have in common. Basically, Trump has been in relations with Russian mafia, oligarchs, and Le Pen is and when we say that money comes first, that's another problem, another concern, that when we know that Russians give them hell of a lot of money, we always have to keep it in mind.
They will have to work it out somehow.
Somehow.
Yeah. But yet we not to be afraid of democratic processes because it's how it works.
It
Yes,
is.
we cannot
I mean, yeah,
avoid
it is a
that.
normal practice.
Yeah.
Though. Don't get me wrong. I know this is a normal practice, but it is kind of dangerous to do this. Was kind of dangerous because many people who really understand French politics told me that they are, if not scared, if not feared, but at least concerned of what is going on. And they don't know if there is any plan, and they don't know if this plan will work. But this is a good idea that we have to get ready for everything, and maybe try to find ways to negotiate and common interest, even far rights, far less. If this is good for Ukraine, then we should do it. But we really need to be careful. This is what I think. This is my idea for thing. Really careful and really looking forward for troubles if Le Pen wins.
Yeah, we're always ready for that, actually.
Oh,
But
yeah, that is
according-
true. That one is good.
According to some people who like to spread propaganda about Ukraine and Nazis in Ukraine, actually they would think that it's perfect for us. If you think about in that key, they would oh yes, far rights, and Ukraine is full of far rights, and we've never had not even a majority of far right parties. They never crossed the threshold of 5%?
No,
Never.
less.
Never.
And,
Less-
in the
less amount.
2019
Or the
elections, they have not passed the 2%
Yeah.
threshold to enter the parliament.
And that's a tendency, always been like that. So unfortunately, no, we don't have that close relations with the far rights. But yes, I agree about common interests. Sometimes,
Okay.
the weird alliances the world has seen,
Absolutely.
a lot of them, yeah, we've seen it before, but still. But yeah, the problem is we don't understand the plan yet.
Well, that's that we have
If
to
it
play
is-
like this.
Yeah, if
Halyna.
it
Then we have to
exists.
play it like this. We don't know what is the plan. Then we have to assume that maybe there is no plan, or the plan will not work out. So what we can do is we have to monitor the situation continuously, and get ready to talk with anyone who is ready to talk to us. Talk to us, negotiate. I'm not talking about really only Le Pen, because she's not the only one in the party, just by the way.
Yeah.
So we have to find someone who is good for Ukraine.
Just
to
like we
talk
did with
to.
Republicans in the US. I'm
True,
so sorry.
that's, yeah, we're going back to America
I can
every
only talk
time.
about the US in the episode about France. Sorry. But yeah, so I agree on that point.
All right, so the whole idea was tonight to discuss that we don't know what is going on in France. We see a big turbulence there. We know that Emmanuel Macron just announced the extraordinary parliament elections, and we have professionals in politics in France who are really concerned about what's going on, and we have Paul Stelmach, who is ready to do diplomacy, whatever, and with whoever, if this is for the good for Ukraine. And I can't agree.
Of course,
I
of
can't
course.
agree more.
Thank you, Henry, for being a foreigner in Ukraine, Ukrainized foreigner, and
sweet.
helping our cause too.
Well, I just sincerely believe that, as my good friend Stephen Moore says, he says, freedom is a core human value. That's what I trust in, and I'll do my best to help. So it was me, Henry Keane, Paul Stelmach, and Halyna Babenka in our show trying to answer the impossible red lines. Stay tuned for more.